May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. I am delighted and honored to kick off a 3-sermon series dedicated to the subject of stewardship. St. Anne's annual Stewardship Drive invites our community members to renew our spirit of support for the Church, be it through our time, our talent, or our treasure. The theme of the campaign to enlist your support for our Church in 2021 is Staying Connected, an idea that has taken on new active meaning for us this year as we've navigated each challenging virtual translation of familiar gatherings, activities, and ceremonies. A few weeks ago, I found myself at the helm of such a trip through new waters as I walked a mother through how she would be witnessing her daughter's marriage on screen. No, you won't see it if you just open the Zoom app. Yes, you'll need to follow the link. Oh, are you sure you didn't get the link? Hold on, I'll send it to you again. In a very intimate 5-person ceremony, I was serving not only as first-time officiant, but also as the surprise head of technology. Being so woefully underqualified for my tech support role made me feel, in comparison, like an expert in my officiant role. This feeling of expertise had not always been my experience. Far from it. When my dear friend Libby and her partner Taylor Ray asked me this spring if I would officiate their wedding ceremony in the fall, I gave them an immediate joyful yes, followed by months of second-guessing and self-doubt. Oh, I can't do them justice, I thought. I don't have nearly enough experience or wisdom to impart. This will be a complete disaster. Even after we virtually convened in the weeks beforehand to review the reflections I had written for the ceremony, which they resoundingly approved of, my fears were far from dispelled. The nights leading up to the ceremony were plagued with anxiety dreams about forgetting to pack my dress, losing my notes, and generally making a horrible mess of one of the most important days of their lives. Had I read today's gospel passage that week, I would have imagined both brides exposing me as an imposter, the equivalent of finding me without a wedding robe, then binding my hands and feet before throwing me to the outer darkness. Of course, there was no such unhappy ending. Both the ceremony and its live stream went without a hitch. Every bit of my self-doubt was proven wrong, and after months spent living in fear of judgment and gnashing of teeth, I recognized that I had enough of anything that I would want to offer my friends that day. I had risen to their invitation, and that was all I was called to do. Too often, we tally up our own offerings with clouded vision. We skew toward seeing scarcity, rather than embracing our own abundance. We reject the core conviction First Lady Michelle Obama asserts in Becoming, her memoir. Am I good enough? Yes, I am. When presented with invitations to feast and share from the abundance of our tables, we, just like the guests invited to the wedding banquet in Jesus' parable, often make light of it, choosing instead to distract ourselves with busyness or deny our possibilities. We stow our treasure, belittle our talent, and run out our time. This season of stewardship invites us to take a seat at our own table and to pass our bountiful dishes around. It is a time that reminds us that we do have enough, be it time, talent, or treasure, and enough to share. Today's reading from St. Paul's letter to the Philippians reminds us not only to embrace whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, and whatever is commendable, but also to keep on doing the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in God, and to let your gentleness be known to everyone. These past months have shown us that staying connected is an active practice that we do and that is known, rather than simply a mindset. It has also shown us that, during a time that has forced us inwards, looking outwards towards one another is key. Since March, we have stayed connected through a variety of what I like to think of as spiritual potlucks, including morning and evening prayer services, committee meetings, Sunday liturgy videos, forums, and more. I have been humbled, invigorated, and inspired by what our fellow St. Anne's community members have brought to the table, and I have found my own offerings becoming richer, more plentiful, and more varied through the course of every feast. And we are blessed to be invited to such tables by our friends who invite us to serve in a sacred role or step into a higher calling, by our communities who draw out the light they see in us, by our clergy who challenge us to follow in Jesus' ways in our pursuit of a more just and equitable world, and by our God, who, as Psalm 23 describes so beautifully, spreads a table before us in the presence of those who trouble us. To say yes is an expression of gratitude unto itself. Our participation speaks more eloquently than our words ever will. Even when we are bereft of the familiar and faced with the reality of loss, our cups truly are running over. Our St. Anne's community continues to reveal a bounty of creativity, thoughtfulness, resourcefulness, and resiliency, more than enough for any season. As this stewardship season gets underway, I am excited to see how we engage the connections we've forged and carve out new ways to stay connected. Even from many different rooms, we are all dwelling in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.